Hi there, viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. by our studio clock. We thank you so much for joining us on this other edition of the news today, Thursday. Our major stories right away. Thousands of Class 6 pupils across the country today sat in for their very first official examination, the common entrance or the concours d'entrée en sixième. The event relatively went well in Cameroon, but in the English-speaking regions of the country where pupils from villages were forced to go right in urban centers because of security threats. Plus, traders at Marché de la Gare here in the city of Douala are still counting their losses after over 100 shops were demolished earlier today by the local council, leaving the affected people stranded. Viewers, those are our major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for being with us. We begin this edition in education today. The common entrance examination, which is the equivalent of the concours d'entrée en sixième in the francophone subsystem of education, started effectively today across the national territory. Today, Thursday, May 11, 2023. Innocent as a thrilled 10-year-old Inez, how she prepared and also prepared her parents before getting to her center to write. A reporter also noticed agitating parents at the government's bilingual high school in Bepanda, here in Douala, refusing to return home after accompanying their children. Innocent Aze, you have the details.
Inez is candidate writing the concours d'entrée sixième of the French subsystem of education, equivalent to the common entrance examination of the Anglo-Saxon subsystem. Before going to bed, she makes sure she studies. By 5 a.m., she is up, she prays and straight to the bathroom, while her parents verify all her writing materials are intact as arranged the previous day, including her acceptance slip.
Vous avez déjà fait tout ça hier, non?
After dressing up, Inez makes a quick revision while her breakfast is being prepared and served.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Passe encore un dernier coup d'œil sur Zambia. Oui, c'est ce que je vais passer.
Oui, madame, son petit déjeuner, c'est léger?
Oui, c'est le petit déjeuner.
At 6:30 a.m., Inez, armed with her writing materials, heads to her accommodation center, Government High School Aqua North, accompanied by her father. Inez has confidently promised her parents success and Equinoxe team a rendezvous to celebrate her success. She writes in total serenity at Government High School Aqua North, just like other candidates at the Government's Bilingual High School Bepanda Accommodation Center. We visited early Thursday, day one of the official examination. Here, candidates were accompanied by their parents who were blocked from entering.
They are very emotional. They know their children are writing the common entrance for the first time. And they are also too tender and young. So they're supposed to agitate like that. They always agitate. Every year we have the same case, parent agitating. We are even forced to block them. They don't have to come in, because we are there for the work.
Despite calls for calm and assurances all will be taken care of, some of the parents were still shivering.
Si je suis là jusqu'à présent, parce qu'il fallait que je me rassure, qu'elle soit vraiment dans sa salle de classe. Et c'est tout ça.
Que s'il y a un problème, je puisse réellement en être au courant.
After this common entrance examination, the pupils will prepare ahead of the first school living certificate examination, a gate opener into secondary school.
And in the English-speaking regions of the country, the story is not the same. Over 2,000 people sat in for the 2023 Common Entrance Examination in Kumba in the Meme Division. Due to several security threats, pupils of Dikume Balwe had to move from the village to Kumba accommodation centers to sit in for the exam. Immaculate Fogwe now tells us on how the exams went on in the Meme Division of the Southwest region.
They are all eager to take a new step on the educational ladder. Class 6 pupils from Dikomi Balwe in the Dian Division joined their peers in Kumba in the Meme Division to sit for the 2023 Common Entrance Examination. Seated in their various classrooms, these pupils are given last-minute instructions by their invigilators.
05104G. Don't write anything in that box.
This is our lone school that is harboring 5 centers, sub-centers of Kumba 1 subdivision. Here we have Buya Road 1 CS, we have Kumba Town PS, we have Kumbambeng GBPS, we have Kumba Town GPS, and equally Kake 1 GS. These are the 5 centers that are in this school, the complex, and we have spread out the sub-centers into various blocks.
Despite rising insecurity due to the over 6-year-old armed conflict, these pupils, accompanied by their parents, braved the odds by sitting in for the exams. The divisional delegate of basic education, Mukwele Beatrice, assures parents that security has been tightened.
For a job well done, everything has been put in place. The answer is so calm for an effective examination. And I want to believe that with all this put in place, the Meme Division is going to top the league when the results are published.
We have an 85% increase, meaning that we have a plus of about 264 children who have been added as compared to 2022. All in all, we have the common entrance into technical, where a total of 535 pupils have registered, and that of secondary grammar, 1,908 children have registered so far. As it is, before you are coming, we are moving around for a complete statistics of the number of children who are sitting in at this moment.
Successful candidates will have the opportunity to enroll in a secondary school during the next academic year.
Good luck to all the pupils. Now, over 100 shops at Marché de la Gare here in the economic capital Douala have been demolished by the local council. The action, according to the authorities, is to fight against urban disorder, while the traders on their part say they were not informed on time because the demolition exercise took place in the early hours of the morning. Lucy Liengu Esier has more.
More than 100 stores in Marché de la Gare, Douala 2 subdivision have been demolished by agents of the Douala 2 Council. The victims, most of whom are internally displaced persons from the northwest and southwest regions, feel frustrated. They relied on their various businesses to feed their families.
For the morning time today, they don't come and can't say that the brown market, they don't drive, we send we for outside, all Monday for outside. So I say bomb for our skin, now we deal with the die, so we don't know what we do. We don't know how to go. People don't come and work for Bami, they say they don't support for Douala, they come for Douala again, and so problem. Then the broke people, they need to talk what they say, so they can't broke people them.
A bitter pill for the traders who also complain of not being issued a quit notice on time.
Quand vous avisez les commerçants qui doivent quitter le lieu, vous devez avoir des calendriers fixes. Bon, quand vous dites que vous allez casser, un mois après vous ne cassez pas, 2 mois vous ne cassez pas. Ça met les gens dans les doutes et puis les gens sont sincères. Et puis s'ils ont payé des impôts, ils ont tout payé les quittances. C'est ça qui fait en sorte que les gens sont en train de... Les gens sont là.
Storerooms containing goods, fruits have been brought down. The demolition exercise leaves the traders in tears as some struggle to gather what they could recover. Business persons of Marché de la Gare call on the government to either provide a space for them to market their goods or better still compensate them for the loss incurred.
Now we take you to the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, where local authorities in the capital city are stepping up the fight against insecurity in the town. The Fundi senior divisional officer has embarked on a war of repression against urban disorder, which is an insecurity enabling factor. Babila Jonathan is on that beat.
Rising insecurity in Yaoundé is increasingly threatening lives. Cap owners have been given a deadline of 6 weeks to respect some administrative injunctions in a bid to curb the rising trend of attacks by suspected bandits, killings, and other atrocities recorded recently in the town. Fundi Prefect Emmanuel Mariel Njikdeng says all caps should be properly identified and must not have dark glasses.
De 6 semaines.
Toute attaque massive de mototaximens sur les agents municipaux.
Attacks against council agents by motorbike riders will be considered as rebellion.
La détention de couteaux ou autres armes blanches.
Moving around with knives and other light weapons by all persons is dangerous.
On ne marche pas avec le couteau.
During a meeting with other administrative authorities, security and municipal officials, and cab drivers and commercial bikers trade union leaders, the Fundi senior divisional officer said passengers who encourage the violation of rules and regulations, including overloading and circulation in forbidden parts of the town, will be punished.
Les auteurs de nuisances sonores,
authors of noise pollution, will also be sanctioned.
DJ autres seront sanctionnés.
Nous allons accentuer les sanctions. Nous allons accentuer les contrôles.
Yaoundé One Mayor Jean-Marie Abouna announces the stepping up of control actions across the town and sanctions according to the law.
À partir de maintenant, force doit demeurer à la loi.
And now we talk something else. Today, the Rastafarian movement across the world is commemorating the death of legendary reggae artist Bob Marley. Robert Nesta Marley used his art to decry several ills in the African society, such as slavery and colonialism. Mala Glory now tells us more on the life of Bob Marley and what he stood for.
Many do not know, however, that the central figure of Rastafarianism converted before his death in 1981 to Christianity and was baptized in the Orthodox Church of Ethiopia. Bob wore long dreads and smoked a lot of cannabis. These were not just the accessories of a rock star, but symbols of faith. Rastafarians believe that the smoke plant removes mental barriers and opens the way for enlightened thinking, and the dreads bear their roots in the Old Testament. Even though these doctrines are quite questionable, the musician was evidently guided by faith in God and love for men, in whose service he placed himself. His music career was motivated by more than money and fame. He said, "If my life is just for me, for my own safety, then I don't need it. My life is for people. I am made to go this way." There is no need to dig deep into his lyrics to notice his strong faith in one love. Titled "The Song of the Millennium" by the BBC, Bob sings, "Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel all right." Songs such as Redemption Song or Forever Loving Jah, which is the Rastafarian word for God, and clearly prayers. Bob Marley prayed with his music and used it to promote peace and equality.
The man is a man, but the message is the most important part of it, you know. I've been to Africa, I've been to many places where when Bob was around, he wasn't there physically, but his music was there supporting the movements of freedom in these countries. So it's not much about the man when it comes to you know, the things that he would stand for. It's about what his message is, and that is still here.
It has such a strong social impact that in 1976 it was the target of an assassination attempt. 2 days later, even though the alleged assassins were not to be found, Bob again stepped onto the stage with the 2 wounds, traces of bullets received. He was baptized on November 4th, 1980, convinced that he had found God, about whom he wrote his many songs of praise. Many of the Rastafarians who idolized him and his close friends were greatly saddened by this major change in the singer's life. But the one who had become the international symbol of Rastafarianism was unshakable in his decision to become orthodox. This gesture is somewhat understandable, given that the religion of ganja smokers recognized Jesus Christ as the Son of God. The difference is that, in addition to all the influences, she also adopted cannabis smoking as a holy habit. Marley, however, was a seeker of truth and returned to the mother of faith, orthodoxy, showing his will to renounce everything in order to follow God. After his death, Robert Marley was not buried under a cannabis plantation, but received a Christian service.
And now, before we move on to sports, we take this other sad news element. Family members of 37-year-old Kinsey Rowland, who was killed in Bonaberry, say they want justice for their son. Rowland was reportedly kidnapped, tied up, and dumped in the Vuri River. A reporter for me, Armstrong Sanda, tells us more. We come to this report by Informe Armstrong Sander about a 37-year-old guy whose name we got as Kinsey Rowland, whose family is asking for justice after he was killed. We got information that Rowland was allegedly kidnapped, tied up, and dumped into the Vuri River. For me, Armstrong Sander met with the family members in Bonaberry. He now tells us more. Now we move on to sports viewers. Dynamo in Elite 1, Dynamo Football Club of Douala has gained access into the Elite 1 League for the 2023-2024 football season after 20 years in the cold. The Bombanjop will not have to play their last game against the Stade Betois, who were slammed by a decision of the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee of Fecafoot for unruly behavior. Smart Njikan Gabriel is our man on that sports report.
Players of Dynamo Football Club of Douala in total ecstasy after getting the news of their qualification into the Elite 1 League next football season. The news dropped like a bombshell when they were preparing for the last game of the season, which was against Stade Betois, that was supposed to determine their fate. The decision of the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee to punish Stade Betois for their unruly behavior during their game against Elite 2 champions Victoria United gave Dynamo Football Club of Douala the green light into Elite 1 championship. The decision of the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee said that Stade Betois was absent during the game against Victoria United, thus losing all 3 points. The members of the commission working on the facts further declared Stade Betois absent in its remaining matches and fined them 500,000 francs CFA. Many have questioned the decision of the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee, which they say it wasn't fair. Because of this decision, Dynamo Football Club will gain direct access into Elite 1 League without playing. This is coming after 20 years that the Bombanjop have been in the wilderness.
And now, viewers, before we move on to talking points, this communique which just got to us from the Minister for Communication, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, it reads, on the night of May 7, 2023, around 9 p.m. at a place called Chess Street in Bamenda, precisely at in the Mesam division, the Mesam subdivision, a group of heavily armed separatist terrorists opened fire in a drinking spot and fatally injured Mr. Anyende, journalist and correspondent for the Northwest region of the newspaper The Advocate newspaper, and also a freelancer and stringer for the radio City FM and Dream FM, among others. The government condemns in the strongest terms this heinous murder claimed by a certain Capo Daniel, a secessionist leader living abroad, and an act that is all the way very shocking and revolting, and it is perpetrated against an innocent journalist. At the very moment when our country just joined the rest of the world to commemorate the World Press Freedom Day that was on May 3, investigations have been launched which will make it possible to find the perpetrators of this crime so they can answer for it before the court. The government sends its most saddened condolences to the family of the victim at a time as it assures media practitioners or professionals of its constant support and urges them to continue to exercise their profession in total calm, serenity, and in full responsibility. Similarly, the government intends to reassure the population of the Northwest and Southwest regions as to its determination to do everything possible to thwart the perilous initiatives of secessionists and their sponsors aimed at disturbing the tranquility of the population of the said regions and to restore peace and security in the two English-speaking regions of the country. That communique was signed, as I earlier indicated, by the Minister for Communication of Cameroon, Rene Emmanuel Sadi. Viewers, that puts to an end the first part of the news. Thank you so much for always being there. And the second part of the news, we will be coming back to the brutal killing of a journalist in Bamenda. Stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is a journalist who is practicing in the southwest region of the country. Jude Mbaku, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. We will be talking precisely on the killing of a journalist in Bamenda, a journalist who was working for a private newspaper and also stringing for other radio stations in Bamenda. Thank you once again for being our guest. We want to find out from you right away, how did you guys receive the news as a journalist who is practicing in the warring area of the country, the southwest and the northwest regions? How did you receive the news of the brutal killing of Anye Ndinso?
If you ask me how it feels practicing in the southwest region, it's like any other region in the country, but for the ongoing socio-political tensions we are facing in the southwest, like in the northwest region, where the threats of life have been the order of the day, where reporting, especially on the field reporting now, is as dangerous as whatever you can think of. So journalists here are caught between the devil and the red deep sea. It is not easy to operate here. You have to be determined to be able to operate in the southwest region. Not long ago we had the situation with Samuel Wazizi, who was caught in the midst of the crisis. To date, the corpse of Samuel Wazizi is yet to be accounted for. You just witnessed what has happened with Anye. So in Bamenda, those are circumstances where you get caught between the state group and the separatist fighters. The belligerents of the crisis are not making life easy for journalists. So it's a very difficult terrain as we speak.
And now, Bakuju, I want to find out from you, is it possible to practice journalism in the southwest and the northwest regions, being balanced and fair, and considering that most journalists who are practicing there are somehow always caught between the devil and the deep blue sea?
Well, if you can do a balance, you can do balance reporting. Yes, I think the principal canons and the values of journalism can still be kept by every professional journalist, despite the threat we are going through. Balancing your report is not a problem as far as you are able to get the right source of your information. It's very possible to do a balanced report, to do a report with plenty of accountability and objectivity. Yeah, we've been doing a couple of reports from this end, and we've been doing our best as colleagues of the media corps to ensure that whatever information we give out there from the mainstream media should be that which is accurate, because any piece of information which goes out in its wrong form only goes to accelerate the crisis we already have here. So in order to help the population, we have been doing balanced reporting, despite the fact that both parties have not made the ground very easy for us.
And now let's talk about the protection journalists should have. Do you think journalists in Cameroon, especially those who are practicing in the two English-speaking regions of the country, do you think they are adequately protected, or shouldn't they get more protection, maybe not only from their employer, but maybe from public authorities also?
About protection of journalists, how protected we are, it is very difficult to answer that. Journalists, the protection we have from our employers, I think it is relative, depending on who your employer is. Truly, the safety of journalists goes just beyond your employer or the government. It also is responsibility for belligerents especially, and the population, because the service of every journalist is to the population. The population is our first audience. We are accountable to the population, so our primary role is to serve them. So our protection first should be able to, it should be a societal responsibility. It's not just the government or our employer, because at the time you feel that your employer is protecting you at the level of the job site, you don't know what is happening back at home. Kidnap here is a very common thing. I remember in the Northwest region, we've had kidnaps of colleagues like the former Kamasese president, Ambe Macmillan. We've also had the kidnap of, here in the Southwest region, in Boya, we had the kidnap of Ayise, who worked for the state broadcaster. So kidnap is also very common in this part of the country. So your safety cannot really be guaranteed to 100%, but you can only but work and hope, pray too, that you go scot-free. No one can tell. It should be a collective responsibility to protect journalists.
The Southwest and the Northwest regions, difficult terrain to work in, really, for journalists. Now let's talk about the treatment journalists are being given, especially maybe from private or public authorities. What's your take about the treatment most times journalists are given, especially when they go out to cover events? Do you think they are properly treated by organizers of events?
You might want to ask what happened. Most often when we're going for events, you see how they treat the journalists. It's like these people do not need some kind of protection because they really want to take images. They don't give them some kind of protection. They don't give them gears to put on. They don't go into armor cars or all that. So they serve as a shield. They serve as a scapegoat. So at the level of journalists association, and it's a call we are making to every colleague, your safety should be first. Put your safety paramount, because there is no news in the grave. There's no way you can inform people when you are already in the grave. All information is done when you are alive. So do well to whoever is your employer. Let them be able to secure you, to guarantee your safety. If someone is taking you out for a mission or some work somewhere, your safety should be guaranteed. You should be in an air-conditioned car like they are too. It should be well gun-proof, protected car as well, so that we don't get caught with bullets. Becky, I think it's Becky. Is it Becky? She worked at the delegation of communication in Momo division. A few years ago, she was caught by a bullet while struggling to do some work for on the course of her duty. So I think it is important that when journalists go on the field, they should be guaranteed maximum security so that they can come back as other people and report to their population like others.
So that is what should be done, but something else is obtained on the field. Jude Mbaku, we noticed that you're in black. You told us of air that the slain or the brutally killed Anya they saw was a close person to you. Courage to all the journalists who are practicing in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And thank you again for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point. Viewers, we thank you so much for always being there as usual. Don't go away, our programs continue. In about 30 minutes, Equinoxe with Serge Alangutu, and the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.